What is going on, fine people? You are tuned into the Blerd Dad podcast, a space where we nerd out about fatherhood and have unfiltered conversations. I am your host, Gled Lawrence, and I am super happy to be with you all again. Today, we're going to be talking to a good buddy of mine, Rob Medina. We're going to be talking about movies. We're going to be talking about, apparently you don't rear a child. I was going to say child rearing, but apparently the women do that, and I don't want to claim their glory. I just want to, say that I'm helping raise the kid. So kid raising, we'll be talking a little bit about that. Yeah. So what's been going on in my week, man? My week has been good. I have just been waiting here. We're still waiting for little Junior to pop out here. And it's interesting. It's interesting the things that you have to do when you're trying to make sure that the kid comes out. There's, I guess, watermelon's a thing that you're supposed to do. Supposed to eat spicy food. Like all the remedies that they gave, they felt real like borderline. I was like, are you saying this because I'm black? You like trying to coax them out with, racial stereotypes? I don't know. But we're walking around. There's a little bouncy ball that we got for the kid, or I'm sorry, for my wife to bounce on to get the kid out, and it's fun. I mean, we're waiting. I'm chilling, because these are the last few days of being without a kid, without the life changing. So I haven't had that life changing shift that everybody talks about when you have a kid. But I'm ready for it. I'm waiting for it, and I'm excited to kind of get this thing started, so to speak. We'll see what happens. We'll see when he gets here. I was expecting a July the 4th baby, but that did not come to pass. Just like his dad, he's like, let me get this one little party, where I am chilling. I think he's laid up right now. He's very comfortable in the womb. Stephanie has an incredibly comfortable womb. So I know he's just chilling out in there and just having a good old time. So it's cool. It's cool just waiting for that. Now the 4th of July just happened. That was fun. The 4th of July was fun because I laid out. I decided to have some freedom toast. That is how I spent my 4th of July. I made some freedom toast. I had some freedom fries as well. And it was a holiday filled with freedom. I can't say enough about the freedom that I explored during this 4th of July. I also got to see Tomorrow War. You can check out that review on Nerds Rule the World on our YouTube channel. Got to do some whispering reviews. See, right now it's like earlier in the day, so I don't have to whisper. I could be as loud as I want. The wife's in the room back there, but I don't have to worry about waking her up because she's already awake because it's the middle of the day. Now, when I do the reviews, it's usually late at night after I've watched the movie and put them in. So anyway, so go check that out. New release Wednesday, Nerds Rule the World. Our guest actually is a contributor. So he's on there. So that was a twofer. I'm hyping up the thing that he does. I'm also hyping up the thing that I do. Now, one thing that I cannot forget to hype up is our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sponsors. They made me wear it. They are dog stylists for the everyday parent. It's a husband and wife team on a mission to help dogs discover their fashionable side. Whether it's an awesome Halloween costume, adorable dress, comfy jammies, or a custom designer gown, your fur baby will be draped in the latest fashions. You know what I'm saying? They might even have a fashion show for your little pup if you go to They Made Me Wear It and you use code word Blerd so you can get them decked out in the finest fashions. So what are you waiting for? Head to They Made Me Wear It. Every purchase that you make contributes to Hope for Paws, which is a great little animal rescue outfit that works tirelessly to rescue and save these animals. All right, there we go. Look, I'm getting better at this thing. I'm damn near super pro at doing these damn intros now. All right, y'all have heard me ramble on for long enough. That is my little intro. Now to get to what we really wanted to talk to y'all about today. Wanted to get to my buddy Rob here, who is he's great. He's a loving husband. He's a father of a 14-year-old boy. He's got two dogs. I said earlier, but it's actually 3 dogs. I was corrected. Somebody yelled at me and said it's 3 dogs. Damn it. I was like, whoa. He's got a lovebird, which I don't know if that's the actual type of bird or if that's the type of love that he makes and he houses it in his home. I don't know. But they said his name Chicken. So a lovebird named Chicken. I don't know. All right. Let's get him in here and stop hearing me ramble. Let's talk to my boy. Welcome to the show, Rob Medina. Rob, what's going on?
Hola.
Hola. That is funny that you say hola, because every time when you're signing off your messages, you're always like cool pintos. And I'm like, oh, look.
Cool pintos? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, put a little flavor in it.
Yeah.
I appreciate
try to be as cool as possible. It's very, very hard for me to achieve that level of coolness. So I do my best.
There you go. One thing I didn't mention in your intro there was that you are also the host of a very awesome podcast. It's called You're So Cool with Rob Medina, where you go and you talk to different people about different things. And I really like it, man. So I forgot to put that in there too. How you doing?
All good. I'm doing good, man. I was listening to your 4th of July story, and I was hoping I could share a funny story that maybe you would like to hear, because I've seen those videos of like fireworks that just go awry and just cause all sorts of. So I had that happen to me last night, where in my neighborhood, unfortunately, I don't have the video. My uncle does, because he's got a security camera set up in front of his home.
Yeah,
and someone set up these fireworks that like just started blowing up, like, and went all these different directions. It was like coming like left and right, up and down, going under the cars, exploding, things all over the place. And so before that it happened, I was like literally standing there on my phone. I'm just flipping through some things so I can try to get a really good a position where I can next set of fireworks to come through, because they were just kind of going off like randomly. So I was like, I was unprepared. Then all of a sudden I'm seeing the next one go up, and I was like, okay, cool, that they're ready, they're about to go. And then all of a sudden I remember my cousin just like running right past me, and I had no idea why. I was like, why are you running from me? And then she's like, the fireworks, and it just like started exploding, and it was like coming straight at me. It was going underneath the car. It was like a full on like spectacle. And I just bolted and like ran backwards. And then all of a sudden I remember there was like a flare that went underneath the car, and I seriously thought that thing was going to explode and just cause like all this reek of like havoc. So
you don't watch a lot of action movies, so you're like, oh, here it comes, here comes the
car. Well, you would think that I would be prepared, because that is my favorite genre, but I was like, I was completely just confused what was going on, because it was literally like just all over the place. Like, people tell you that stay calm. I was calm, but I was confused more than anything. So I had like things like flying all over my face. There's like fireworks coming straight at me, and it was going over there, top of the house. Like it was complete chaos for like 5 seconds. And then afterwards it just stopped. And then like my aunt was really mad, because I think it was my uncle, the one that set off the fireworks, and she's like yelling at him, like, don't you die, you know? It was like all that stuff. Like, and then I started laughing. And then my other cousin recorded a video, which was decent quality, but it was like one of those like really old like pixelated type of cameras. Well, anyway, so then my uncle showed the video, and they were like wondering, who's that one guy that was running away from the fireworks when it was coming straight at them? They thought it was their son. And lo and behold, it was me, because I was on my phone, and you see me just running like a complete biatch, just running from like where I was straight back to the other side of the cul-de-sac. So not my proudest moment. I wasn't necessarily the proud and brave American at that moment in time, but
were you screaming? Were you letting?
I was like, what the, can we cuss here?
Sure.
I was like, what the fuck? And I just kept running backwards. And then I just turned around.
Your kids? I guess that's the question. If you curse around your kids, then
I curse around my son all the time. I do it all. Yeah, I do it all the time. So there's really I don't have that many ground rules when it comes to cursing, up to a point. I always tell them, just be careful not to do it in front of certain people, because they have a thing about it. So just be cognizant of that. But he's pretty good.
So here's the thing. As a new parent, one of these things that I'm going to have to deal with are the things that I expose them to. Fireworks is a big one. Like, like, I'm sure your uncle probably has kids who are looking at him like, oh, he's just going to like set these things off. And the kids will pick up that from you. So they'll be like, oh, let me, set off some fireworks too. That's because my dad always used to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I know my uncle, he's pretty on point. He's like, don't touch over here, get over there. I mean, I'm exaggerating his reaction, but I'm like saying, he's pretty much like telling everyone to stay like 50 feet away. And then when he thinks it's safe, he tells everyone to get closer. and then he miscalculates things, and all of a sudden things go awry. And that's what just happened last night. So things like that.
There's always some accident. I remember a long time ago, one of the Fourth of July's that I spent with a buddy of mine. And it was like a party. We were having a party, and one of these fucking idiots lit a mortar and fired it backwards. So the tube ended up firing towards the house, and it actually hit a friend of mine. So you heard about the hockey player who just died because the thing hit him in the chest. Same thing happened. Luckily, my friend was fat, and it hit him in his it hit him into like his chin. So like it literally was like a superhero. Like it absorbed the mortar into his like neck. And it like sit and burnt there for a minute, and then like fell, like harmlessly to the ground. But like there was a million ways that could have went wrong, and it went wrong in the one way that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's really hilarious. So the fat
sucked. It could have been terrible though. It could have been like fucking. It could have been real bad. Like real bad.
It could have been bad. Really bad.
But yeah, man, that was a. Hey, this is one of those things. People tell you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. Being fat saved his life.
One of the very few instances where that is actually a legitimate reason for maintaining that body size.
It's like you need to turn your life around and eat a cheeseburger. That's pretty much
for that one moment in time. Yeah,
one moment in time. But yeah, man. Anyways, I am super appreciative that you decided to come on and talk to us a little bit about.
Well, I'm appreciate you've invited me here, so thank you.
And the thing is, this is probably the first episode where I actually have a lot of nerd things going on with the guests. You know what I mean? We have the nerds rule the world and everything. A lot of times I am a black Blerd, and so I'm talking about fatherhood. But this is one of the few times when it's like our interests coincide, where the interest is, kind of nerd culture and just nerding out.
So, you're right.
Yeah,
I did notice.
I needed you to spice it up and keep me true to my Blerd roots.
As Eddie Guerrero says, bring the Latino heat.
Bring the Latino heat. So you're super into movies. How early did you get into movies?
Really early. Well, actually, I got into I when I was growing up, I stayed at home a lot, and I was pretty isolated, I would say. And what I mean by that is that I was always at home growing up. And so I'd watched a lot of television, a lot of films and things like that. But I was very engaged with television, like mainly just TV shows, cartoon show, things like that. And I'm not sure if you had ever seen the review that I did for the Ninja Turtles film. But that was the very first movie that I saw in theaters. And that movie like literally changed my perception of film, like of entertainment in general. So from that point, after I saw the movie in theaters, that my obsession for film started to grow from there. So at that point, because I knew of the TV show, and I knew it wasn't real because my parents had told me that. So I had become aware that the fact that these cartoon shows were coming to real life, I remember distinctly thinking about, imagine what else could they turn into a film and bring to life. So that like had always stuck with me as a kid. Even to this day, I still think that there are moments where I could watch, if I watch a cartoon show or read a comic book, which I don't read that often, but when I do, it does, my imagination starts to run wild with that. Who would look good with that? How would that look in the context of the real world? And that had always had evolved from there. So from that point on, I just started watching whatever I could, and pretty much I'd watch like literally everything. I would watch horror films, action movies, dramas, romantic comedies. Like I watched a lot of stuff as a kid. One of the first, I can't remember what was the first R-rated film, but one of my very first memories of an R-rated movie was Terminator. So
nice.
I saw that. Yeah, the first one. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. It was the second one. My apologies. It was
T2.
I was T2 Judgment, and I remember seeing that and thought that was amazing. Then when I saw the first one, I was confused because I didn't understand the like tone for each of those films, because the second was like more like epic action. The first one was tended to be a little more horror driven, given the small scale that they had.
Big scary guy coming after you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that approach, but as the years had gone by, I understood the reason behind all that and the budget and all that sort of stuff. So it made more sense to me. So I started to appreciate the the approach with films and things like that. So I mean, it just evolved from there, but it really all started with Ninja Turtles. I always give that film credit to this day. Still one of my favorite movies of all time. So
it's crazy. Every movie, it seems like they make the first one, and the first one's kind of, it's cool, groundbreaking, everyone loves it, and the second one they throw a bunch of money at it. And T2 is one of the rare films that is like on par or better than the original, despite having like a bigger budget and all that type of stuff. It's one of the few, because every sequel usually they get a lot more money, and then the movie isn't as interesting or it's not as good as like the original.
Well, it's funny because since I talked about Turtles, so when I was a kid, I remember like loving the first film, and when I saw the second movie, I actually at the time I liked it a little bit more than the first film because it was much more like the cartoons, with the exception of like Razor, and I forgot the other guy's name. I should know by now.
Coca and Razor
a million times, but Coca and Razor. Thank you. I don't know why I forgot, but anyways, so I knew there was that separation of like creating these new characters, which I didn't understand why they had to do that, but I remember as I was watching the film as a kid, like I knew that the film was funner. It was much more fun for me to as a kid. But even as a kid, I knew that the first one was just far superior. Like it just had a better story. It was much more engaging. Where this one was just like a full on, just a cartoon show. And then when I saw Terminator 2, which I loved more than the first film, but as the years have gone by, I think the first film, in terms of like building up the atmosphere and in terms of storytelling, I do think it's the superior film in between the two of them. Not to say the second one wasn't any good, it's great, but in terms of like building up and pacing the film and creating that atmosphere, the first one I think did it brilliantly, in my opinion.
I think the second one did a good job of carrying the torch and kind of like expanding that universe. You know what I mean? Like, and making it make sense and kind of making, I don't know. There's a lot of times I didn't see sequels that were that great. I mean, by this time we had like 17 different Star Trek films or whatever, and each time they tried to get it better, and it's like it took them like 4 tries until they got like.
I wasn't really that into Star Trek as a kid. I got into it later on as I got older. But even then,
nerd. I should have got beat up way more when I was a kid because I was into all kinds of super nerdy shit. Like I was deep into Star Trek. I love some Star Trek.
Who's your favorite character?
I really like Geordi because he was like the black character or whatever. But Worf was also kind of cool. I just always liked the idea that there are different civilizations that have a way of being, you know what I mean? Like the Klingons were very kind of honor driven and fighting and war driven, and Vulcans were very logical. And then I forget what the Deanna Troi, I forget what her home world was, but they were like empaths. So it's all these different type of people who come together and make a starship. And I just always thought, if we could do something like that in the real world, like it would be a nicer place to live, where people come together and we're exploring the world and trying to fix things, make things better. And then,
well, for me, that's one of the things that I love movies because for me, when I was a kid, sometimes there was a lot of stress at home, and like for me, the movie was an escape for me, and I never understood why it was so peaceful on in the film world, where you had a solution to almost every problem. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was like, if that guy could do this, why can't people here in the real world do the same thing too? Like I just didn't understand like the set of values, because quite frankly, a lot of the values that I still believe to this day, believe it or not, I got from film. It's gonna sound kind of ridiculous, but it's true. Like there's a one line that I love from Rocky 3, which is if you remember the movie, when Paulie was like pissed off at Rocky for not including him in all the success he had gotten from winning the title in the second film, and then he gets bailed out of jail because he caused some sort of like a fight at some arcade game, I believe, and then Rocky was like, no one owes you a thing, you owe it to yourself. And I remember that line distinctly as a kid, like, oh, that's, no one's going to take care of you. Like I was a little kid when I saw that, and I understood that concept. But then, I got distracted and I forgot a lot of things along the way. But those little moments in the films like really stuck with me when I would watch them. And I always took away a lot of like a really important set of values that, not to say that my mom and dad didn't instill into me, but it seemed like it was just like it was so it wasn't chaotic, but it was inconsistent in some ways. The behaviors were, one day they're really good mood, the next day they're in a bad mood, and
Right.
and then why? And then all of a sudden, Rocky, on the other hand, he's consistently the same throughout the entirety of the series.
Right.
And when he's in a bad mood, he admits his fears, he admits what he's going through, and he feels as if though he has nothing to offer. And that was like a strength in the character that I thought that was needed in people here in the real world. So like little things like that I always took away from films, and that's one of the reasons why it kept adding on to my love for it as well.
Yeah. So if those are things you took away from films, what are some things that you I guess introduced your kid to that you were hoping that they would like? Did you try to introduce them to films that you saw as a kid, or did you try to
Yeah.
or show them like newer things that you're into, or you thought they might be into, or like learn together? How did you approach like media with your kids?
At the time,
Or
it was
kid, I'm sorry. You have one, right?
I only have one kid.
Okay. All right.
One boy. He at the time it was just I just thought of I'm going to introduce whatever I grew up with, and then that slowly changed. Actually, I should say it quickly changed for him, getting into things that were current at that time, like bubble guppies and whatever else was going on.
What the fuck is a bubble guppy?
I forgot because it's been a while, but it's a bunch of fishes and people that mermaids, I guess, and it's a cute little show from what I remember. The only reason I remember it now is because my niece watches it from time to time. So I was like, oh yeah, Angel used to watch. That's my son's name. So it was like it's a fun little show.
Listen, hold on, wait. Before you keep going, this is the thing that scares me the most. That I'm gonna have to get hooked on some show that I absolutely hate because the kid loves it. It's gonna be like all this baby shark and like those are things I would never in a million years find on my own, and somehow I'm gonna end up watching them. And so I had this thing like I would never watch reality TV. And I would not even allow it on in the home or whatever. And of course you start dating or whatever. Stephanie infiltrated because she wasn't supposed to be watching reality TV here. She knew it. And then she was just like, oh, I'll just watch this one little, like she started with like watching like a clip on YouTube or something. And then now she binge watches entire series in the room here. And I'm like, it's not supposed to be in my house. But whatever. Things like that. Things like that are going to filter in. I'm going to end up watching stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be all into, because here's the thing is, it's not about the fact that it's not good. It is very engaging. Like it's like candy. And that's why I'm like, don't bring it in the house because I don't have the willpower. I'm going to get into it and then I'm going to be like, they talking shit about Kim again. How dare they? You know what I'm saying? And anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Because you actually brought a good point. Because my son, like I say, I was trying to introduce him with things that I grew up with, and he was into it in some cases, but he discovered things on the way, and so did we. And whatever he was obsessed with, we would sit there and have to watch it with him. Like one of the things that I had a conversation with somebody about this a while ago was he was obsessed with Cars when it had come out, the first one. And he saw that movie so many times. It's actually a good film. I liked it, despite what people may think of it. But I thought it was a very good movie, but I got so bored of that film so quickly because I think in a single day, my son must have watched it like 3 or 4 times or something of that sort. Yeah. And then it was just the exact same thing the following day. And then it was just like, at the time, I didn't know any better to like how to, pull him away from that, try to be really thoughtful in that process. But so instead, all I did was what any new parent would do, not knowing how to handle this, is, well, here's another one. So it's just another replacement of something else that they then became obsessed with. So it was a very instead of stopping the pattern, I kept adding to it by putting in another supplement to kind of remove him from that and then bring something else in place. So there was a lot of mistakes I've made, I believe, with that, but he wasn't terrible by any means. Whenever he'd watch it, he'd just sit there and watch it, and then he just wanted to play it again, and we just sit there and put up with it.
So
I enjoyed it though.
So you replaced the addiction with another addiction.
Yeah. So instead of like weed, I put crack now. So it's just like I was like, I didn't make it any better. I just made it worse.
Like, oh shit, this crack isn't helping. Let me give him some heroin. And
yeah. So
we're not talking. This is a
metaphor.
A
metaphor. Yeah.
Because people nowadays will just like take it like, oh my goodness, they're
cancel him.
Yeah. No, but we're not advocating for crack for kids.
No.
Although if they're addicted to film, it may be a way to wean them off. No, but that's interesting because that's one of the things that I think will be very important when I'm trying to, raise this, or when I am trying to, when I'm
Trying to,
raising
yeah.
this kid, it's just like how do you introduce him to the proper media? Because if you think about it, when we were young, we got introduced to everything piecemeal. We were introduced to technology as it was being created, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we didn't just jump right into simulated killing like Call of Duty, or like we didn't get Terminator first. Like we got like Fraggle Rock and Sesame
Mhm.
Street, and then it worked its way up to
Yeah.
seeing all this
It
stuff. So I feel like
started
our minds,
escalating from there.
developed. That was Buford T. Justice, who he was on here, and he was saying one of the ways is introducing the media as it was introduced to you. So like give
Yeah.
them like the Atari first. But I don't know how practical that's going to be.
It depends though, because I'm not saying that's the, and I'm certainly not, because here's the thing, everyone. My biggest takeaway from being a parent, and I think I've only told a handful of people this, is that
Ooh,
if you got to figure it out for yourself, and you got to figure it out what works for you, because every child is going to be different. And there are going to be some consistencies, that as far as like, kids are going to want to play, they're going to want to, if they see something colorful, they're going to want to go to it. So I mean, that's normal, I believe. But for my son, I really wish that I had been more thoughtful in just introducing things that he could handle at first.
Mm.
Because the thing with me when I was growing up as a kid is that I saw so many things, and I was able to absorb it to a point, and then when I couldn't handle it, I just got up and walk away. Sometimes, but with my son, I just thought, let me just put this here, and then I'm going to give him that, and I'm going to show him this. So I really wasn't really careful into like thinking about what is the best way for him to see these things. And hey, we've got this, and that. Let me know what you liked, and let him figure it out for himself. I didn't really do that in the very beginning. It was more like, here's this, and watch it. So I wish I could have gone back in time to do that, to handle that a little bit better. I mean, now he's fine. He makes his own decisions, and hey, what are you watching? I'm watching some YouTube clip. Okay, cool. What is it about? Not because I'm, what are you watching? How dare you? It's nothing like that, because I trust my kid. But it's more about, what are you watching, and then he'll tell me. And even if I'm not interested, I still try to be engaging with him. I try to engage with him about, well, what's it about? And then if he's explaining to me, and then my mind starts wandering, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be straight up with you, kiddo. This is really boring. Why are you but here's the thing. Then I would say, why are you into that though? Because I can't get into it like you are. What's so
what do you
I've
like
learned,
about it?
right, but I've learned to do that later on in life as I
Mm.
as I became a parent. But that wasn't something that happened overnight. So you just got to figure it out for yourself. And what may have worked for you, try it. And if it doesn't work for your kid, try something else. It's just it's a very it's not an arduous process, but it's a very you have to be heavily involved. There's no half-assing it, really.
I think the number one rule that I'm going to have, just starting from a young age, is going to be every story has to have a beginning, middle, and an end. Like, I don't want these sidewinding stories that go on forever, and I'm just stuck there listening. And I'm like, is that the end?
Yeah.
So who knows? But they always figure out a way around your defenses. But that's very interesting. Like finding out what the interest of your child are.
Yeah.
So like, how you've had the kid for a while now. How old were you when you first became a parent?
So my son was born in 2007. I would have been I was 21. And he was born in May 5th. So Cinco de Mayo, baby.
Oh, nice.
And
See, I was trying to have a 4th of July baby, and this little dude was like, "No, I'm still." He's still sipping on that amniotic fluid. You know what I'm saying? Just chill it out. He's like, "Nah, we got fine.
Just give me
wine
2
up
more
in
days.
here."
I'll be out. Yeah.
He's
No,
in
my
there smoking
son.
a cigar, eating
Yeah.
steak. Like, come on, bro. Like, we got this party to get started. What are you?
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing?
So for my son, I forget what was the question again, because I was
I forgot the question too. Just their interest in finding out that they have different interests than
yeah. Well, I think from like for myself, like I try to be more before, like I said before, I'm trying to be. I was just doing things for the sake of doing it in a lot of ways, not to make myself look like I was being a terrible parent, but it's just that well, I remember my dad did this, or I remember my someone did that, I'm gonna try this, and didn't really put a lot of thought into it when I was raising my son as a kid. And but thankfully my son, he was really patient. That if there's one thing about my son that I can really speak highly of, and is that he's a very patient person, and he developed that as a kid. So me putting up with me and doing this and trying that. And then, when he would get upset, he would speak up. So that's something that really helped me out. But it's, I'm not even sure if we were on the same topic as or what we're trying to get into here. But to go back with what you're saying before about your kid wanting to be born on July 4th, my son, when a doctor had said that your child expected to be born on May 5th, that kid was born exactly on the day at 8:33 a.m. And that was one of the most, for me, it was a very, it's supposed to be an eventful moment in time for a parent, I believe, but yeah, not for me. I don't know how. Are you going to be in the delivery room
Yeah,
when
dude,
your child's born?
I'm gonna
Do
be
you have the
chilling,
stomach for
dude.
that?
Sure. I mean, I think so. I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, I have no idea. I think so. Usually I'm cool. The only thing that makes me throw up is when other people throw up like that.
No, you're one of those guys.
Yeah, but like, I don't think blood doesn't do it. Like, if I see a lot of blood, I don't think that does it. It just, but the action, like throwing up or looking at something like that is thrown up, that does it. I remember I was substitute teaching, right? This is off subject, but it's still an interesting story. I was substitute teaching, right? And I don't know if you've ever been in a classroom and taught like young kids, but there's like a ton of kids. They're all running around and you're trying to corral them. And I remember another teacher came over and was like, "Can you keep them down?" I'm like, "What the fuck do you think I'm doing?" Like, like, this is what I'm trying to do. Anyway, so they left. And in that time, after the teacher left, I came back and I was trying to, get the kids to kind of quiet down. So, it's chaotic and kids are running around. It reminded me of that scene from Kindergarten Cop. Remember when they're all like running around and trying to, and he's like, "Ah." So I calm one of the kids down, and then another kid comes over and he's tugging on my pants or whatever. And then I look back, and then he's looking at me with his hands up. He's like, "I threw up," and like his fingers are like webbed with throw up, like all over himself. And I'm like, like about to throw up on the kid myself, which I thought would have been super terrible if like you're a substitute and you throw up on the kid.
On your kid.
That would probably scar him for life. He probably is.
It wouldn't look good on your resume.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know what to do. Like, what do you do? Like, this kid has throw up on him. All the other kids are running around screaming. Teachers are already like, "You're not handling your class." I was like, "I know, I'm a substitute. I'm not trained for this." Like, these kids are supposed to be, but that was a moment that I remember, like, all right, I have to be strong authority figure here and say, "You do this. I need you to help me. I need you to do this," and then get the kid to like the nurse or whatever to take care of that. But yeah, that throw up scene, was that kid almost got double dosed right there.
Did you ever find out why the kid threw up in the first place?
I didn't have time to. This is the thing that I have figured out. I'm not a parent, but this is what I figured. You don't have time to ask questions. You should know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna. I didn't want to inquisition the kid of like, "Why did you do XYZ? Why did you do this?" You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, the kid's thrown up, like that vomits out of the stomach, so to speak. You know what I mean? We're not putting it back in. Let's just get them cleaned up and then go away. But it just I always think about that. I would love to like make a movie about substitute teaching, and I would love to have that scene where the kid is just like, "I threw up."
You like a cobweb full of like
from hand to hand of vomit. It's like, "I threw up," and I'm like,
when my son was born, prior to my son being born, my wife and I were discussing about, I'm going to be there and so on in the delivery room. And I didn't think about it at the time, but I remember being really, really nervous about the whole thing. And I think once in a blue moon, I would have like these panic attacks, not like a full on panic, just being really hyperventilated almost in a lot of ways, where I just had trouble breathing. And one point I remember when I was working, I threw up and I just didn't know why, but then it was because of, the lead up to my son's birth. So on the day that my wife where her water had broke, it was like May 4th. It was May 4th, the night before. And she was nonchalant. She's like, "Oh, my water broke." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "We got to go to the hospital." So I was like, "All right, I'll meet you out there." And no joke, I went straight to the bathroom and just puked, and then flushed the toilet, washed my hands, my face, and then went straight to the car. And as the night progressed, like I said, we were there from, I don't know, however late we got that on May 4th, but I stood up the entire night because I could not sleep to save the life of me because I was so nervous and I just kept throwing up so much to the point where I was literally dry heaving. I couldn't like find anything to throw up anymore. So then my mom or whoever it was got McDonald's and I ate some of them nuggets, and then not even like 5 minutes later I went straight to the bathroom and just threw all that up too. So I was like,
McNugget throw ups are terrible too.
oh my god, that was not it, I that feeling of like of that I don't know know how to describe it because it's been such a long time, but I remember just feeling so weak. And I didn't expect that was going to happen to me. I really thought I was going to be there, and I knew I couldn't handle certain, blood and guts type of thing in real life. I don't have the stomach for that, but I figured I'm going to be, behind my wife's legs. I'm not going to see all that stuff come out because I watched when I was in high school, they had like sex ed classes, and one of the during one of those sex ed classes, they showed how babies were born. I've never been so traumatized from watching babies, moms giving birth to their babies, and they were doing it like in bathtubs with the babies coming out, all the blood and the placenta. It was fucking gross. So, anyways, so
that's the miracle of birth. What are you talking about?
Well, no offense, but it was it was nasty.
Yuck.
So, anyway, so the lead up to my son's birth, I was literally puking, and I could not stop. And then I went to the bathroom. I was like, just like trying to puke, and I got a sliver of like whatever came out that dropped into the toilet, and it took so much strength for me to get that out because for some reason I felt compelled to have something come out. Flush the toilet, and not even the moment I come and sit down, and the doctor's like, "Okay, baby's coming out," and my wife's right in front of me. And I literally so I'm like sitting right here, and my wife's like just right over there, and her legs wide open. And then all of a sudden, my son, his head pops out, and I remember distinctly all the blood, just the fluid of blood just dropped, it looked like a waterfall, and the placenta and you can see it looked as a giant booger just like landed on this thing on the floor. And then as soon as my son comes out,
to catch the baby,
huh?
You said it looked like a giant booger.
It's like the placenta. It's the actual placenta cell. It looked like a giant booger.
I thought the doctor was over there telling you the baby's coming. Just
no, because I literally walked out of the bathroom, and we're in the delivery room.
Yeah.
So my wife is giving birth, and as soon as I walk out, the doctor's like, "All right, the baby's coming out," and I'm sitting down, and it just happened so quickly. But I was watching the entire thing, and the placenta dropped, and I was like, and I just could not puke anymore. I was literally just like dry heaving. And not to say that no one cares, just that I wasn't in a position where I couldn't that I wasn't that I wasn't conscious. I was, but I just stood there and I was literally shaking the entire time. And then my mother-in-law was right in front of me, and for whatever reason I felt compelled to tell her to get out of the way so I can see my son come out. And that was even worse. And then more, oh god. So anyway, so
it sounds like the same reaction you had to the fireworks. You're just like frozen, like
it wasn't nowhere near as bad as that. That I could handle. I could handle some fireworks being flying all over the place. But my son my wife giving birth to my son, I couldn't handle that, and I was just like, So anyway, so once he came out, I held my son. It was a beautiful moment, and then afterwards, everyone starts to pack up and leave, and I slept the entire time. You would have thought I gave birth. And my wife was getting up and prepping my son, and she's talking to people, and I'm like, people are visiting, and they're like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" And just pass out. So I was like done.
Like, and that was tough.
Yeah, I could not. I've never been so. The thing is, I didn't do a single thing the entire time. Not a single thing. I've never been so exhausted my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how. So yeah, when it came to like my son's birth, I was not the man. I was just. My sister-in-law was there holding, being there with my wife, and she did her thing. And my wife was like, is my son's head out? Yeah, let me feel it. And she's like, oh, it's so soft. And I was just like on the verge of puking. Yeah, I was a mess.
That's an awesome story to tell me now, because it's like imminent that I'm about to have this kid. And this is like something that, I haven't really even thought of, like that involuntary thing. You know what I mean? Like you had an idea that you might be, I'm gonna be the man, I'm gonna help out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then when the rubber meets the road, it's like your body does something totally different. Like recently, I haven't been throwing up a lot thinking about it, but I have been getting these weird like head tingles. And then I looked it up because I was like, am I like having a heart attack or something? And then it said it could be brought on by stress or anxiety, like getting. And so I'll just get these weird tingles. And now it's funny because I'll be thinking about something like Stephanie will mention something about, you know, something we have to pay for, and then my head will start tingling.
Your spider senses.
Spiders.
Spider senses are giving up on you, man. Come on, dude.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, we got to get this, you know, XYZ, and I'll just like spider tingle. But no, it's like the tingling in the head, and I'm hoping that what I assume is going to be my demeanor is my demeanor once the birth happens. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't go in that, because you know it could very well, you know, go in that way. I might just be like, oh, I might not have the stomach for all the, you know, placenta and all that other stuff coming out. But
if you don't have, if you feel like I can't watch it, don't. I mean, that's my advice. Just if you know you can't do it and you can't sit there or be still, or if you're gonna freeze, whatever the case may be, just don't do it, because you might help yourself in that process by not, you know, because for me, I don't mean to say this in a negative light. I really wish I was a lot stronger in that situation, but knowing how I am now, you know, I would have told my wife, no, if I'd known this before, hey babes, you know, honestly, I don't have the strength to sit here and watch you give birth, because, you know, I'm going to puke all over the place. So I'm going to be outside and I'm going to be waiting. You know, I wish I'd have done that.
Can I be honest with you? I feel like if you told a pregnant woman, hey, listen, I'm gonna just duck out here. I don't think
no. My wife's not like that.
She might have been like, what the
well, you know, honestly, I don't think my wife would have ever done that. My wife, you know, I knew my wife very well at that point to trust that she would not take that the wrong way, because my wife knows that, you know, there are some things I can handle, there's some things I can't handle, there's some things that she can handle and she can't handle that I would handle better. So, you know, we each other out pretty well. But that point, that was like a brand new thing for me, which none of us expected. You know, even at the time, my wife's like, "Oh, he's just sitting over there." So, you know, my wife could have, you know, would have been fine.
Yeah. So, I'm excited to see. I know that Steph is going to want me to be there, and we've practiced, you know, breathing together and doing that whole thing. So I think it would be traumatic for
maybe
her.
I should have done that.
Yeah. Wait, did you do any like reading or lessons or anything, like classes before? Like,
no, not at all. I don't know if we should have. I'm not saying we didn't need it, but I just assumed that I assumed that I was gonna be okay. My wife was way stronger than me in when it came to birth. You know, the whole process, it was easy for her when she was pregnant. She didn't have any sort of mishaps along the way. It was a very easy process for her. And it was, and for the both of us, it was a really unique moment in time for the both of us, where you know, I miss I miss a lot of things, I should say, when my wife was pregnant. You know, just having her lay in bed with her belly and she's eating off you know, putting the bowl on there, eating, little things like that I miss. So there was a lot of wonderful moments we had, but for whatever reason, leading up to the birth, it just like, you know, all that thought process of like the good times just like went out the window, because all I was imagining was this stress that was developing here on me, for me. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing the blood and the placenta. Like, it just didn't register with me to, like, you know, keep my composure. I just was like losing it. And I froze. Like, have you ever seen the movie, like, what's it called? What's that movie with Johnny Depp? Blow. You know, he was in the hospital shaking like that. That's exactly how I was. I was a horrible mess. Yeah, I was really bad. I was that bad.
Yeah. I appreciate you letting me know. I think I would have tried to rewrite history. Like, no, I was great. But that's pretty.
I don't have a problem admitting that. You know, and I remember the doctor looking at me, because, you know, because my son was, when I saw the umbilical cord, she literally looked at me and saw me just like this, and she's like, nah, cut the umbilical cord and just moved on. Seriously, she looked at me and she was like, nah, just cut it. It probably wasn't the first time she ever saw that.
Like, she wanted to hand you the scissors. It's just like,
well, she didn't even say, you know, where's the dad? I mean, she knew it was me. I believe she knew it was me, but I remember her looking at me and then just cutting the umbilical cord, and I was like,
was she shaking her head while she cut it? Like,
no, I don't remember her doing that. I just remember her just looking and just like, yeah, but I just remember, like, it just for some reason I remember like this reaction out of her face, because you only saw like the top half. So I remember like seeing something to the effect of like, oh no, it was something like that I remembered. But then again, I was kind of like out of it, so maybe I'm imagining it, but I remember distinctly that imprint of her face just being like, nah.
Listen, as filmmakers, right, and people who love movies, this needs to be in some film, some way, shape, or fashion. When we make our film, this needs to go in there somehow. We need to have a pregnancy scene with the dad in the corner, because this is, I mean, I don't know, it's an incredible story to share. You know what I mean? That of being in there. And I mean, I'm sure there are other people who have very similar stories. And like I said, I don't know if mine's going to be worse. You know what I mean?
I've heard guys pass out.
So yeah, like for sure. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, not only that, there's a lot of stress, you know what I'm saying, that's going on with your significant other. Look, right now I'm talking about, I got a little tingle in my
Well, my wife never had any stress. That's the odd thing. I mean, seriously, you would have thought
during the pregnancy, like
no, not at all. She was pretty smart. Yeah, honestly, she was. Wow. I mean, I'm not trying to make it seem like it was perfect, but I mean, it was a very pleasant event for her. Like she'd never had any problems at all. It was a very easy thing for her. I remember distinctly her just like loving that whole period in time where where she was pregnant with our boy. And so it was like we have a lot of great memories with that. For me, it was just that one period in time that I just leading up to that it was the most stressful for me. But the thing was is that there was nothing that she was doing that was adding to the stress. She was in fact pleasant. She was great, and she still is great to this day. So it's like I don't know why I couldn't handle it. I'm not sure where that stems from. So who knows.
But you've been handling business ever since, dude.
I handle other things better than this. So
wait, so does your son, does he watch your videos on YouTube since he's on
Sometimes
YouTube?
he does. Yeah.
Does he?
Sometimes I ask him for opinions because my son is a pretty straightforward kid.
Yeah.
In fact, the last review that I dropped was the Independence Day one.
Yeah.
And I asked my son because I hadn't done one in almost a month, and I had a lot of things going on at that between that period. But so I'd asked my son, "Can you please edit this for me?" And do whatever you want to do with it, but just follow the same template that I've had before because I want to keep that same structure. So just keep that, but otherwise, bring your own thing into it, and I'll have a look at it and I'll say yes or no. And then like halfway through editing, he's like, I don't want to use this editing system anymore. So because I'm bored. I was like, all right, thanks. And then he went on with his day, and I ended up having to finish it myself. But it was where, I had asked him, would you mind doing it for me? He wanted to, but the simple thing is that he just didn't want to use the software. That was the only reason why he walked away. He thought it was boring.
What was it, Premiere?
I use iMovie.
Okay.
But he has another one that he's using on his computer. But I'm not tech savvy. I my patience with technology is very limited. I'm getting better with it, to be honest. But my son, I have to just go to him and tell him, just give it to me straight. Let me know what I got to do. This, and this. I was like, I will give it to me in like layman's terms because I don't know what half the stuff means that you just said right there. So my son, he's very patient and showing me and letting me know what needs to be done, how I need to do it. And I learned a lot from him in that regard too. So, there's a lot that my son has taught me when it comes to being patient in other areas that I have no patience in, and that's technology. I'm the least patient person when it comes to that. I get pissed off if my phone's like is not going from one page to the other, and it could be something very simple as the connection is dropping or whatever the case may be, and I don't get furious, but I get mad. My son's like, "Oh, you just gotta wait, do this, and that." I was like, I don't have time for that. He's like, well, that's the only way you can do it. I'm like, all right, fine. So
nice. So what's the feedback? What does he think about you in terms of as a movie critic and as a YouTuber?
My son. So I always, because it's true. My son. Whenever I tell people how my son reacts, I do this impression of him. He said, I was like, so what do you think of the video? Yeah, it's pretty good. Because my son has a deeper voice than I do. So yeah, it's pretty good. I think you need to do this. He'll give me some insight, and he's actually he's on point for the most part when it comes to certain things that he thinks I need to work on. Like the biggest thing for me is plot. So I tell him, I don't want to tell him to the plot too much because it's going to take too long. He's like, well, you should do the plot because it's important in case someone else who has never seen the video who's never seen the movie rather, and may want to know what the movie's about, this is your chance to explain it to them. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to talk about this and that. I'm trying to condense it to like this amount of time. He's like, no, you got to expand on it. So there's a lot of back and forth. My son, I told my son recently, you would be a great producer. Like, you have the eye to look at certain details and what would work and what doesn't work. If you develop that skill, you would be an awesome producer, whatever field that may be that would have that sort of a position. You should go with that, because I think you're awesome when it comes to that. Because half these ideas that I've been doing on the reviews, and even to some point on the show, a lot of it came from my son, because I would ask for his opinion. He'd give me some insight about what would work and what doesn't work, and for the most part, it worked pretty well.
Oh, nice. Yo, ask him to watch mine too. I need some pointers. He sounds like he's got some good insight. Hold me down.
Yeah. So it's a fresh pair of eyes, because like I try to, if there's one thing that I remember as a kid growing up, it was that, I'm sure you may have experienced this too, but there were some grownups that wouldn't listen to the kids. And sometimes I remember kids had really great ideas. Like, I've had plenty of conversations with kids that I was friends with, would tell me an idea of, what they thought was going to work. And then it would tell their parents or somebody else, and they would just shut them down. And I'm like, why wouldn't they just listen to you? That could have helped out. And then, in many cases, some of those ideas would have actually worked out had they just listened to the children. Yeah. So, I've always carried that mindset as I got older, and as I'm raising my kids, just to hear them out and, let them speak and try it out, and then include them in the process and see if because I always encourage my kid, you got to give it to me straight. So if I'm rambling on, you got to tell me, you got to stop talking, because you're just going all over the place, and I can't figure out what you're trying to say. Like I told him, give it to me straight, because it helps me, but it also helps him to develop the ability to just speak up. So little things like that I try to encourage, and it helps. But it helps both of us along the way when we're doing this here. So this whole thing here like is a very good thing for myself, because it's another way for me to connect with my son in other areas that I lack in, and he's ahead of me, and so it's nice to include him in that process for me. So
nice. I think that's a thing. Like, I'm doing the comedy thing, I do the reviews and whatnot, and I feel like incorporating him into that and maybe giving him a little bit of that piece of me, it's like something to share together. But of course, he'll have his own likes and wants, and who knows what he might like woodwork, what I'm saying? And it's like, then I gotta figure that out. Check it out. Usually on podcasts they have what's called a burning question, but here we have a blerding question.
Blerd.
And and so our blerding question for you today is, now your kids are like you, they're starting a movie collection. What are the first 5 films that they each would pick? I guess you only have one, so I missed a dog and added a kid.
Yeah, that was my wife.
Yeah, she was like, what? Was like,
she's like, I was like, I think I told them 3, and she's like, what? And I looked at it again. I was like, yeah, I did tell them 3. So sorry, baby.
Oh, so that was my fault. I left out one.
Yeah, because I sent you the info, so I didn't want to. Yeah, so
my bad, my fault. Right. I left out a dog. Hopefully, it's not a.
And so, and to answer your question, the lovebird, that's the type of bird that he is. He's a lovebird, so it's a real thing. It's a real bird. It's basically like a miniaturized parrot, pretty much.
Oh, okay, a mini parrot. Lovebird.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how I try to explain people if they don't know what a lovebird is. So think of the size of a parrot, the size of a parakeet.
And then every time he flaps his wings, you get horny.
Well, they call them lovebirds because they're like social animals. They're really affectionate. Excuse me. So they rely on being around a group of people or animals really to be included. Like that's their main. If you isolate them, they would die in a heartbeat. They can't survive off of that. So and funny enough, my first bird that I was a lovebird, and I guess what I named her.
What?
Parakeet.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. To the question. What are the first 5 films that you think your son would put in his movie collection?
That he would pick?
Yeah.
So I know that my son would probably go. Does it have to be like any film or just
Yeah, for his like basically his top 5, I guess.
I don't even know what his top
Or
five
if you
is.
wanted to describe him, what are the 5 films that you think would describe him?
So because
You
I
could
asked
do
my
that too.
son if he has any top favorite movies, he told me he didn't. But if I were to pick off the top of my head, I think he would probably go with. I know he likes. I know he liked Endgame, so I probably think you'd go. No, I'm sorry, he doesn't. He does like it, but I don't think it's his top 5. Fuck, I can't remember.
Well, Cars would be one, right? Would you put
I don't know
Cars
if
in
he
there?
likes it anymore. I know he liked
Really?
Wally, so I'll put Wally in there. I know he liked Wally a lot, so I definitely will
Uh-huh.
put that in because he did like that movie. Yeah, I'll throw Cars in there because he did like that one. I'm trying to think of another film. I think I'm gonna go with Pixar because those are the ones he seemed to be to the ones that he's like
Right.
talking
Yeah.
more of. So I would say Cars, Wally, Toy Story. I'm gonna say 3, but I do know he
Okay.
liked 4. But I'm gonna stick with 3 in this one. Next 2 are gonna be. I know he liked Lucas. No, I'm not Lucas. I meant to say
Luca,
Coco. No, Coco is what I meant to say.
Coco.
I know he liked Coco. And then the 5th film, I'm gonna go. This is gonna be my wild card. I'm gonna say that he will probably go for. What was the last movie that I told him to watch? To like. I'm gonna say The Matrix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've been wondering if we're in the Matrix, because here's why. I was looking on Twitter and Elon Musk put out a tweet. And in his tweet, he's like, "Oh, here are the next 5 rockets to go off into space." And one was the Terran 1, the Terran 2, the Vulcan, and another one was called like the Starfleet or something like that.
The Neo.
Yeah, and then the 5th one was called the New Glenn, and I'm like, are we in a Matrix? Like,
Oh,
it was
really?
yeah, it was spelled like my name,
Oh, with
and it's
2
like I'm
ends.
like, are they? Am I part of a satellite that they're? And is it going to restart my? What is happening?
When it goes out in the atmosphere, you're gonna start like enlightening, and you're gonna come
Yeah,
off.
maybe that's
You're
the
gonna start
head
floating.
tables.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
start floating.
No, it's just oh yeah, man. We could be in a Matrix. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
If it is, I'm trying to figure out how to tweak it. Maybe I'm Neo. But yeah, this has been super, super fun, man.
Oh, thank you.
I like the insight that you gave about the actual birthing process, being in the room.
Yeah.
Because it's imminent, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen within the next week or so, and I'm just like, how am I gonna react? I hope that I got the stomach for it, but who knows?
Yeah, man. I wish I could have been telling you something, something you can go with and be like, yeah, I'm gonna try that and it's gonna work because Rob said it always works. I don't have that story for you.
Your story was like, I hope you don't fall apart, because
All
I
I can
completely
say is,
fell
if you're
apart.
gonna feel sick, don't eat chicken nuggets. That's the best advice I can give you.
Right, or like spaghetti or whatever.
Oh
Like
God.
no
Yeah.
spaghetti. Yeah, those type of thing. No Chinese food. Try to eat something that smells good. Eat a lot of like pineapple or the banana. Apparently banana tastes the same way going up as it does coming down, and it's like one of those things that's not too bad when you throw up.
I don't know. I never want to find out. So
Nah, man. Yeah, I'm very excited for this moment. I love what you do with the NRW stuff. I hope you're having fun with that stuff, because I think we all have a great time, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
I
then I
love what you
love
do
the
too. I do keep up with a lot of the episodes you've been posting here lately. So
oh, cool.
yeah, I really am a fan of what you've done here. I love that concept, Blerd.
Yeah.
Like that, just that name alone, like caught my attention. I was that's a really, really unique name for a podcast. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a cool thing. The one thing though that I will say is, because it's the Blerd Dad podcast,
Mhm.
oftentimes I'm just talking about fatherhood, and
Yeah,
just like two dads or two people chopping it up. Like if I have someone who's not a dad on, usually they're talking about some aspect of raising a child, but a lot of it is, dads just kind of
yeah,
having a conversation like that, like, oh yeah, I remember when, or blah 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 blah. You know, whatever we're talking about. But the thing that sometimes is left out are the nerdy topics. Like, you know, a lot of times when you turn into something nerd, you're like, oh, I want to hear about the new pop culture thing. I want to hear about Pokemon, and I want to hear about all this other stuff. And it's like, you know, we could talk about that if they have the same interest. Like,
well, thankfully, my son, because you know we had a conversation a while ago on the show on my show where you threw a name of some artist, and I was like, I don't even know who that guy is, and so I'm in a position right now where I don't keep up with things if it doesn't really interest me that much. And if it doesn't interest me, my son somehow would know more about it, whether it interests him or not, because he's, you know, keeping up with that stuff for the most part. So I just go to him, like he's like my personal encyclopedia when it comes to like all things pop culture for the most part. So I'll ask him, you know, who's this guy? Oh, this rapper who does this, this, and that. He's saying this song. You know that song? No. Well, you know this artist who's saying that? Yeah. Well, that's the guy who's saying that song. I was like, oh, okay. So he's able to put that connective tissue for me to figure out. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm kind of like that too. I do that with movies. Like, you know that actor? No. Okay, you ever seen this movie with this guy, with that guy who's in it, like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
yeah.
That's his way of doing it with me too.
This is the thing that I'm happy about, is because kids keep you young, and doing comedy or whatever, it's like I want to stay relevant and young, youthful in my knowledge and my familiarity with pop culture. And kids are the way to do that. Too. Yeah. What's up?
As I struggle with that word too, familiarity sometimes.
Familiarity. Yeah. So the kids are a way to do that. They're going to give you a connection that you wouldn't normally have. And I feel like, I feel like I've been abreast of kind of what's going on, but there are so many things. There's so many like Twitch stars right now. Like, we're streaming on Twitch. There's these Twitch people out there who have like tons and thousands of followers. And it's funny because these like platforms, I knew about a little bit when I was young. Like, back, I used to play video games and Twitch had come out, and I was just like, oh, what's this thing? I didn't even get into it. But now it's like a big, huge thing or whatever, and people have these huge followings. And I'm like, man, I feel like I missed out on some of those things. Having a kid in the house probably wouldn't miss out on them as much.
No. Yeah, I guess like I think I'm in a position right now, like I said before, my son is for the most part caught up to speed with all things, you know, pop culture, things like that. And yeah, I never thought I would ever get to that position where I would be that parent that would say, yeah, it just doesn't interest me. I'd rather be doing this. And I'm like so out of the loop of what's going on. And I have a kid who's able to keep up with that. And if he doesn't know, he has an idea.
Right.
So like that's also useful too. You know, like my son, my cousin asked me, I didn't see, this is how out of the loop I am. My cousin was telling me, do you know that song WAP by Cardi B? And I forgot the other chick that sang with her. And I was like, no. And I literally thought it meant like without a passport. So I was like, she's singing a song about Italians or something like that. And she's like, no. And she went up to Angel, my son, and she's like, Angel, do you know what the song WAP means? He's like, yeah, wet ass pussy. And she's like, oh, like that. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, I had no idea. And my son knew that. Yeah. So like, you know, I was just like, wow, that's,
you know, it would have been hilarious if you would have passed out and started convulsing again.
What is?
It's like, oh shit!
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's just, it goes to show you that I had no idea, and my son knew that, and my cousin knew that. She's older than me, not by much, but she's older than me. She knew that, and she was like asking me, like I knew. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't keep up with that. So I really don't. I mean, I know who Cardi B is. I've heard some of her music, but I don't know her like that. But you know, it's like I am now that parent who does not keep up with shit. So
cool. All right. Well, this has been dope, man. You should tell the people where they can find you at. Drop your socials. Let them know where they can find you.
So you can follow me on my Instagram, Rob Medina. Rob_Medina 0585, and on Twitter, Rob Medina 0585, and on Facebook, simply just Rob Medina. And also follow the social media for my show, You're So Cool with Rob Medina. Instagram, it's You're So Cool with Rob Medina, and then on Twitter, You're So Cool WRM. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Damn, that's a lot.
I know. I felt like I was like Rob Medina. Like I said it like 5 times in a row.
No, it's cool. All the stuff that you're doing is super cool, and people would definitely behoove themselves. Wait, but it would behoove them or behoove themselves. One of those two. It would be good for them if they checked out what you're doing, because I love the critiques. I love the insight that you're giving into the movies, and I love your interviews that you give on.
Thank you.
So cool. You usually get into some cool areas that I don't know that a lot of people who interview other people get into. It's just a really cool conversation, and yeah, man, it's cool. I can't wait till we actually meet each other and we're able to dap each other up and give each other a hug and
a legit hug. No more that virtual hug these days.
Yeah, man, for real. Yeah. So this has been dope. I'm gonna, I guess, sign out the show, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do after that, but. for right now, I guess sign off the show, because usually we go for about an hour. I feel like that's people's attention span. Of course, we could keep talking for like hours. You know what I mean? Yeah, like talking about different movies and stuff. Like, oh, did you happen to see? Because I put out the review for tomorrow.
I did. I watched that. I saw that earlier today. I have not seen the movie.
Okay.
But I took your. I love what you said at the towards the end. You're like, honestly, I don't even know what was going on half the time in the movie, but it was great. And I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. That right there solidified of like what I was gonna walk into.
Yeah, it's like, because I feel like some people are like, I hate it, and I'm like,
yeah.
Talking about, like, what did you want? What did you want to happen in the movie? I want to see a cool alien.
Yeah,
like, and I think at a certain point in my review, I was like, none of it really makes sense. But
yeah, that's the part. That was towards the end when you said that. Yeah.
But if you look at like Independence Day or whatever, none of that shit makes sense either. Like now, but it's like a fun
computer virus that could take down a super advanced alien technology and bring down their shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, like they just plugged in with the USB, or they learned how to fly an alien spaceship
at the drop of a hat,
right? And the aliens couldn't realize because they had fucking sun reflectors on.
Yeah.
What? Like what? Come on, dude.
But that's part of the film's charm, though, because like I said, I know the movie's ridiculous, but it works because it did the things that we all wanted to see and just amplified it and made it cool and did something different with that alien genre, which I think was fantastic. So
yeah, dude, 100%. I have this joke that I'm working on that I'm like, I'm just wondering, you know, if aliens, once they get down there, I wonder if they're going to be upset about how we keep portraying them in the media. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like, come on, what?
They're going to start protesting now too.
Protest. Why we always got to be killing people? We don't want to kill people. So anyway, all right, this has been great. Let me sign off this show. Stick around backstage, and I'll holler at you after I sign off here. All right, man. Hey, that has been our show, Blerd Dad Podcast with Rob Medina. That was fun, man. We had a lot of fun there. We learned a lot. I gotta make sure that I got my gumption up. I gotta make sure that I got myself together, because when this baby comes, I don't want to be passing out. I don't want to be throwing up or whatever. But if I do, I know that I will have some solidarity with my homeboy, because you know that's it is what it is. Yeah, so we learned a lot. I think I'm going to be good. I think I'm prepared. Sometime this week, we're gonna find out what's happening. I hope, you know, maybe not. But don't hit me up and ask, okay? Because the baby is coming. I swear to you, it's going to come eventually. We're gonna take some pictures of it and be like, oh, this is the. I think I wonder if I should hold him up on the show. Would that be weird if I just hold him up like, oh? It's kind of a weird set piece. Anyway, I've been Glenn Lawrence, Blerd Dad Extraordinaire. This has been fun. And I think the only thing left to say is Blerd Dad out.